Hey there guys, welcome back for another Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine review. This week, we're taking a look at issue 11. And with this issue, we get a dry brush, or a medium dry brush I should say. Just get the focus on there. So, medium dry brush. Not too bad, these ones. I prefer the round ones that Army Painter do. So these ones I prefer. Obviously you can see this is getting a bit worn now. I do prefer these over these, but these are useful for, you know, certain techniques and stuff of dry brushing. A lot of people I know use makeup brushes. I've tried it with makeup brushes, but I find that they come too big, and if you cut them down, then the bristles, when they're this length, are just way too stiff. They don't work so well. I think these are perfect. They're nice and soft and work great. But if you don't want to pay out for them, then you know, this brush does the job good enough. So yeah, medium dry brush and a psyker. That's right, we get a Librarian in Phobos armor. So Librarians, nothing new to me. I'm used to these. Phobos armor, however, was introduced in 7th edition, or 8th edition, sorry, and obviously brought through into 9th. Now, as I understand it, it's a lighter, more scouting type armour, used for sort of more stealthy type stuff. I'm not entirely sure of it. To me, it's just another unit of Primaris. It kind of sounds like they try to use Phobos Marines to replace scouts, but not quite. They're still Space Marines. But yeah, so this guy, Librarian in Phobos armor. Obviously, we can see him here with his Force sword, and obviously he gets a 32mm base. I think these ones are. Doesn't sound back. But yeah, I think they're 32mm bases. So base for him. But yeah, if you want to see me paint this guy up, card in the corner. We'll take you there, and also to the playthrough for this week's issue. So go check that out on how I paint him. A note on painting him: Librarians are typically done with blue armor. So even though he's from my Dark Angels chapter, he will still be having blue armor. Ultramarines, as far as I'm aware, all Librarians for all of the main chapters wear blue armor. So you can pretty much follow along how I'm doing it, or you can follow the guide. It's up to you guys. Also, one other note: issue 11, if you're a premium subscriber, then you would have got your delivery containing issue 11 to 14, which also came with a paintbrush set. So this is one of the free gifts that you get as a premium. With this, you get a medium layer brush, a medium shade brush, and a large base brush, which is what I also use the dry brush for. Makes great for quick basing. Alright, so moving on to the magazine now. So obviously we get Librarian in Phobos armor. We can learn about the Librarius, and psychic powers are in the playthrough, and those are fun. So we'll actually be learning a new phase. So Librarian in Phobos armor, stealthy psychic warrior. The Librarians are the Space Marines' psychic warriors. They use their potent warp talents to empower their brothers and destroy their opponents. Librarians who serve in vanguard formations wear Phobos armor and specialize in psychic disciplines of stealth and misdirection. So very much a more stealthy unit than typical Librarians. So let's have a look at some of his war gear. So he gets the psychic hood, as all Librarians do. And this not only helps enhance their psychic ability and magnify it, making it a little bit more dangerous, but it also protects them against psychic attacks, both from enemies and also the warp. Obviously, using psychic abilities opens them up to the warp, which can let all sorts of nastiness into their heads, and so the psychic hood there reduces the chance of that happening. Camo cloak. So this is something unique to the Phobos, or the Vanguard. As far as I can tell, that I've seen from Games Workshop, the Librarian is the only model that has one. I'm not sure if lieutenants or captains do, but I know that the more scouty looking guys don't have them, which is a little bit strange. They put it on him but nobody else. But yeah, this is colour shifting. So chameleoline cloaks shift colour to match their surroundings, camouflaging the wearer. So when painting this guy, do his armour blue because he's Librarius. Obviously put whatever chapter symbol he belongs to on his shoulder guard, and then we'll go through the other two symbols in a sec. But the cloak, you can actually paint any colour you want to either represent it in its neutral colour. So for Dark Angels, I would probably do this in a cream colour, more like the robes that they wear. But you could do it in anything to, like it says, match their surroundings. So you could give it a green camouflage, urban, grey, anything you want. So make them stand out a little bit. Then he has the Force Sword. A Librarian can channel the destructive energies of the warp through this blade and into the bodies of his victims. Oh, that would be nasty. And then moving on to the badges and the symbols. So he's got a campaign badge on his knee. This you don't have to worry about adding, purely optional. So Imperial forces serving in the same area of operation display these badges to identify themselves as allies. Although I'm pretty sure a Space Marine can tell that another Space Marine is an ally. Otherwise he's swinging at him and he's therefore a bad guy. You know, it's not like they look like regular humans that could be either, and they don't look like they serve Nurgle, so, you know. But anyway, Librarius badges. So Librarians display the icons of the Librarius upon their armour. These symbols are usually borne upon the knee pads and right shoulder pads of their power armour. So obviously with this guy, we can't see his shoulder pad. It's covered with the cloak. So you can throw one on his knee pad there. Then we've got a battle record for him. So obviously you can fill in the details, his name, his titles. You can give him a Librarius rank. And his war gear, name all this stuff and his different powers and that. So, yeah. Then we've got Space Marines Librarius. So each Space Marine chapter has its own Librarius, a group of warrior mystics and scholars. Space Marine Librarians have spent decades mastering their psychic talents to lend their chapter wisdom and fearsome power in battle. He does look angry, doesn't he? Like this. The flames on there. And we have ranks of the Librarius. So you've got a Chief Librarian. In Ultramarines, I believe that is Tigurius. I'm not sure for any other chapters. He's the only one I know. I think he's the only one they do a model for. If I'm wrong on that, and you know, note down in the comments what chapter and the name of the Chief Librarian that Games Workshop do models for. Then we've got Epistolaries, ranking second only to the Chief Librarian. Epistolaries are amongst the most powerful and experienced librarians. Then we have the Codicias. Codicias are responsible for evaluating and approving reports written by Lexicanums and finalising their entry into the chapter's archives. Then we have the Lexicanium. So these are acolytes who complete their training, become Lexicaniums, the lowest rank of librarian. And then acolytes. So potential librarians are drawn from those Space Marine recruits who possess strength of will and great psychic power. So typically, if you show psychic power and you are not a Space Marine, you will either be recruited into a chapter if you are young enough as an acolyte, or not even before, it might even be before that. If you are too old, then the Inquisition will most likely kill you or use you to power the Emperor. If you make it to becoming a Space Marine, Then obviously you will become an acolyte and then work your way up the ranks. Then we've got a little bit on Necrons here. So Eldritch Artifice, war gear of the Necrons. The armories of the Necron race are filled with technology that predates the very birth of the human race. They are as lethal as they are ancient. And melee weapons. So we've got some melee weapons here that the Necron nobles and their bodyguards tend to use a little bit more. So we've got the War Scythe, the Rod of Covenant, and a Staff of Light. Obviously these two look similar, just a couple of minor differences with the extended arm here. Basically this part added on top and then this lower part added below, so I'm assuming this would be more for a higher up noble, and then these would be for the slightly lower ones. Then we got the Hyperphase swords. I think they're also glaives as well. Void blades and a dispersion shield. So Hyperphase weapons work by vibrating across dimensions, allowing the edge of the blade to slip through armor and flesh with ease, severing vital organs and muscle beneath. Oh, that sounds pretty nasty. Staff of Light. This powered staff is also capable of firing short-range blasts of energy. It is a symbol of rank and authority, and they are only borne by Necron royalty or high-ranking cryptex. Then we have how to build the Librarian. So obviously you can have a flick through this when assembling your guy. He is a glue model, not a push fit. He's not multi-pose or anything like that. You know, he has his set pose, as all models from Games Workshop tend to be these days. But yeah, make sure to remove any mold lines and these little nubbins and stuff when you remove them from the sprue, and do make sure to use a decent pair of clippers when clipping. So there's the assembly guide. Pretty easy. I'd say assemble him in one go, minus the backpack. Paint the backpack separate and then glue it on. That way you can get to these components behind the body there. But otherwise everything else is fine. If you're worried about getting behind his hand, then you could probably leave the arm off as well. It is a small separate attachment, but generally he'll go together just fine. And it's a 40mm base, not a 32. So there we go, 40mm base is what he comes on. So how to paint Librarian in Phobos armor. Again guys, check the card in the corner to see how I paint my guy. If you want to paint him following the magazine, then obviously you can go through, but bear in mind the magazine is only showing certain steps based on the paints that we've already received. And they are saying give him 3 coats of Abaddon Black, thin your paints. If they say 3 coats, do not use straight from the pot. You will lose so much detail putting 3 coats of pure paint on there. Thin your paints. The first coat you are going to see some plastic through. If it's thinned too much, you're going to see the paint separating on the plastic. A little bit of separating is okay for the first layer, but ideally you want a coat to go on there and for minimal separation, but you don't want it globbing on. So you want to find a decent consistency in the thin down paint that you're not going to get dispersion on the surface of the plastic. Otherwise, use a spray primer. Much easier, single coat, all round nice and clean, and then just a single thin down layer of Abaddon Black over the whole model, because black spray paint, obviously if you're using a different brand, is definitely going to be different, but even Chaos Black GW spray paint is different to Abaddon Black, so I tend to give it a straight coat over with a thin down layer just to give it a mutual colour if you need to touch up any black areas. Then they're saying to add your Macragge blue and Mechanica standard grey for the cloak. Got your Corax white for the face and the pipes. Retributor armor for the gold areas, and Lead Belcher for the sword. Now they're not saying Lead Belcher for the pipes, so maybe they're planning on doing these pipes differently. If you want to do these pipes with Lead Belcher, then leave them black, don't paint them white. Metallic colours don't go great over white, they are better over a darker colour, so I'd leave them black. Let's see what colour they do paint them. Yellow, there you go, so they're giving them a more yellowish look to them. So you could do it in gold if you wanted to, a copper, something like that. But yeah, there you go. Then we have the playthrough. Again, I'm not going to show too much of this. Check the card in the corner and you can see how I play through, but we will just have a quick look. So, got some new rules obviously for the Librarian. He's a Psyker, which is going to add a new phase. After moving, before shooting, we do the Psychic phase. So it's move, Psychic, shoot, charge, fight is the order that we now have them in. The fight this time is between the Librarian, the Royal Warden. I'll show you one here. So we've got the Librarian, the Royal Warden, and a swarm of scarabs. And obviously we've got a little explanation of some of the rules which I'll go through in the playthrough. And that's the end of the issue, guys. So price up on your screen now for the Librarian in Phobos armor and the paintbrush, and obviously the savings there. But moving on to next week, which is a few weeks ago from when you guys are watching this, but you know. So we've got 3 new paints in issue 12. We get the Agrax Earthshade, Canoptech Alloy, and Screamer Pink. And in issue 13, we get our first official 5 Assault Intercessors. Now the reason I call these official is because the 3 that we had in issue 2, I believe it was, were from the start paint or start collecting set, painting set, whatever it is, where you get the brush, something like 6 paints and 3 Space Marines. They're not part of these. These guys are actually from the Indomitus box set and also the Recruit, Command and Elite edition of the game that you can buy from Games Workshop. They aren't they are monopose push fit models. I think the only guy that you can make slightly different is the Sergeant. You can give him a couple of different arms, depending on whether or not you want him to have a plasma pistol and whatnot. If you're going to do these 5 from this sprue, then obviously you'll make the Sergeant, and if you want a unit of 10, you won't make him as a Sergeant when the next issue containing the other 5 comes along. If you want 2 squads of 5, then make two Sergeants up. But yeah, there it is, guys. So that's all for today. Don't forget to check the cards in the corner, check those other videos. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If you're not yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button. If you have recently subscribed, then a huge warm welcome to you. Thank you ever so much for your support. But until next time, guys, take it easy. Keep painting those minis.